The other story in the news right now is Mayor Eric Adams. And apparently there is a meltdown over him working with the Trump administration, something that he tried to do with the Biden administration about getting the illegals that are criminals. We're just talking about criminals right now, out of the country, arrested. But they're saying that this was a deal made in private, so he didn't have to face charges. Let's watch the freak out.
This is an outrageous violation of the rules of prosecutors.
It is an outright extortion.
They have literally taken the mayor of New York City and they have turned him into their own political pawn.
So as you look over what happened last week, a week ago we were on the couch. We didn't see until later in the day or Tuesday that the Department of Justice, the acting Deputy Attorney General, told the Department of Justice to drop the charges. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 people from the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney acting for the Southern District of New York, they all resigned. They said, you are asking us to essentially do your dirty work, because what they have suggested and what they wrote was drop the charges because we need Eric Adams to help us with the migration problem in New York City. And also there's an election coming up and it would be disruptive. So next thing you know, he announces that they're going to reopen the ICE office at Rikers. And people are going, okay, so what happened here was behind the scenes, he said, okay, I will help you with the migration problem in New York, but you've got to drop the charges. That's what they are saying. He was actually on this couch, sitting right where you were, Lawrence, on Friday, and he said it was not quid pro quo. Watch.
Think about my attorney, Alex Spira, one of the top trial attorneys in the country. Imagine him going inside saying that the only way Mayor Adams is going to assist in immigration, which I was calling for since 2022, right, is if you drop the charges. That's quid pro quo. That's a crime. It took her 3 weeks to report in front of her a criminal action. Right. Come on, this is silly.
You know, that makes a lot of sense to me. What doesn't make sense is Amy Klobuchar, who we just played, and she went on to say that he's a political pawn, Mayor Eric Adams. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, it is a plenary power of the federal government to control immigration. That means, right, you know, they have sole control pretty much over immigration and nationality. We have the Immigration and Nationality Act. It's a lot of pages. So for him to work with the federal government as a mayor on an issue that is in the power of the federal government makes him a political pawn? No, I think that makes him someone abiding by the constitutional order that our founders intended. And, you know, what I love is the plain speaking of Tom Homan. That's right. Tom Homan was pushed on this like 6 or 7 times on CNN. But here's no nonsense Tom Homan. Listen to this.
I think it was probably 8, 9 weeks ago we met and we had the same discussion. And we talked about getting a presence in Rikers Island. We talked about how we can collaborate on public safety threats and finding the missing children that can't be found after they release the sponsors. And we had that a couple months ago, long before this other discussion. So I don't think it had anything to do with it. Matter of fact, the meeting was very well. It was the same meeting we had a few weeks ago.
I guess my real issue, look, I know pundits and people in the media are going to speak about the deal or whatever. Where do you think the American people are going to stand on this issue right here? The mayor that's helping an administration get rid of the criminals. Right. There are people in the Bronx, New York. It's not like just a white neighborhood. Those are immigrants. Those are many Black, Latino folks cheering Tom Homan as well as the DHS secretary as they were getting the criminals out of their neighborhood. Yeah. And so it's just another common sense issue right here. I know you guys want to talk about targeting political opponents and what deal, but the American people, they only think about their reality. In their community, they feel unsafe because there's criminal aliens that are within their communities. And a mayor that's fighting with this administration to get that resolved, yeah, they're going to cheer that on.
Well, you know, and when he was here, he said, look, because we said, why are you suddenly working with ICE? And he goes, well, I worked with them before. And it's like, no, you didn't. And he said, well, I went as far as I could, as far as the law would allow me to, because we're in a sanctuary city here in New York City. And so his hands were tied. The thing about him, and we don't know what went on behind the scenes, but we do know that apparently right after Trump was elected and it was clear that he was going to be the new sheriff in town, Eric Adams' lawyers, according to the New York Times, went and talked to Trump's lawyers at the White House and said, hey, listen, he wants a pardon. And so nothing was decided. About a week or so later, officials from the White House called and said, hey, we'd like to talk about dropping the charges. We don't know what those conversations were like, but people are connecting the dots. Ultimately, what it comes down to is they need cooperation. Maybe Eric Adams realized, you know what, I've been messing it up.
Yeah.
You know, I should have helped ICE before. This town would be less dangerous. And now he says that he's going to do more.
Maybe, and you know, let me connect some dots. Maybe, just maybe, the wake-up call for Mayor Eric Adams was Jose Ibarra being arrested in the city on child endangerment charges, let out, housed on the Roosevelt Hotel on our taxpayer dime, and then he gets a humanitarian flight on our dime to go kill Laken Riley in Georgia. Maybe that was the wake-up call. Maybe it wasn't a meeting. So you can connect the dots all you want, but the dots I'm connecting are what you said, the heinous reality on the ground for New Yorkers when it comes to immigration.
And legally speaking, and you know this as an attorney, I don't understand some of the reporting on this because the mayor never needed a pardon. This is something I said months on the couch before. The charges have been brought, but it had never been adjudicated yet.
Right.
And so the reporting that says that he was seeking a pardon in the White House, he didn't need it. He just needed the charges to be dropped before he even went to trial. So, again, this is going to play out for the public to see. I still contend that the American people want the criminals out of the country right now.
Sure.
And that's the story that we're going to be focusing on.
Well, here's ultimately where he stands, and that is the fact that given the fact that the predicates for dismissing the cases were he's got to help us with the migration problem here in New York City, and there's it makes his election complicated. They didn't base it on whether or not he was innocent, but they did say we can refile charges after the election, and that's in June. Yeah. And you've got to figure if he does not deliver helping with the migration problem, there's a real good possibility that could happen. You know how it works.
It could. It's not over until the fat lady sings or until DOJ speaks, I guess.